Two experts in ICF.
Yeah.
Decades of experience. One podcast.
Yeah.
Two hosts with a lot to say.
Look, I cannot sit through a struggle. I gotta get up and hustle. I gotta push through the pain, cause really that's how you build muscle.
Welcome to the Build with ICF podcast with your hosts, Trevor Brown and Heather Herring Brown. Yep, they're a package deal. With over 20 years of ICF installation experience, Trevor can throw down some expertise on sales, marketing, and training. On the other side of the table sits Heather, aka the girl boss. And she's earned the title as the owner of an award-winning ICF construction company, a drafting and design company specializing in ICF. And the numbers? With a master's in accounting, she does that too. Sleeves up, boots on. This is the Build with ICF podcast.
I don't want nothing for free. I'm here to work. Been through the dirt. I've been through the dirt, yeah.
Well, this week has been a very fun, crazy, hectic week for us. Episode 67 today.
Episode 67.
But yeah, this week was interesting. So we talk about, we have a lot to say this week. We both were both up in Northern Idaho and Coeur d'Alene area, both at different events. So just kind of fun. I got to go and speak at the North Idaho College's Women at Work event. So North Idaho College has a great technical center and really focused on getting more people in the trades. And the focus of that event is more women in the trades. So it was a great event.
You know about that. It's always fun to watch. I didn't get to because I was at a different event for the North Idaho Building Contractors Association at the same exact time. But I got to go last year, and that's the cool thing is getting to spread the word of insulated concrete forms to a bunch of women that are getting into the trades and stuff. And it's a great opportunity for them. That's a great product for them to get involved with. Yep. Obviously it's work for you. So that's pretty cool. So
yeah. Got to talk to people about drafting and all sorts of fun stuff. But yeah, so that's what we did this week.
And I wonder if it sounds like I'm on loop or repeat because I keep saying like, this is somebody we've been dying to get onto this podcast.
We have a long list of people that we've been trying to get on for a long time.
I guess I'm giving myself credit that we're finally landing big name guests on this show and people are really getting to hear. I mean, we're getting shout outs from people saying they want to get them on. And I'm like, yeah, me too. That's a great idea. So we've got Dave Phelps on with us today and ICF Homes of Virginia. I think probably if you're following us, you probably follow a lot of people on Instagram and YouTube and all these different things. And he's just a master of it. He's got so much good information out there. But so I'm sure everybody's knows exactly who he is. But so Dave, welcome to the show. And why don't you give us a little information about yourself?
Sure. Heather and Trevor, thanks for having me. I've been listening to you guys for a while and definitely I'm glad you had the opportunity to have me on. I appreciate it. You guys are busy putting a lot of good information out for both the novice and the experts. And I know for myself, I appreciate the information you guys give out. And I definitely pick up new nuggets, listening to you guys. And so I appreciate what you're doing.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I guess a little bit about me.
Yeah, go ahead and tell us a little bit about how'd you get to be this guy and how'd you end up in this industry? Because it's, like I said, we all kind of have our fun little story of how we ended up here.
So yeah, my story is maybe a little different. I don't know. I have a degree in physics from Virginia Military Institute, VMI, and kind of went down a different path for that lifestyle. And then not too far after college, got married, had kids. I was working as an industrial automation sales engineer and quickly realized that the income coming in wasn't going to match the expenses going out. And so I'm like, how do I find more money? And so I got into actually flipping houses. So I would buy houses, fix them up and sell them, and did that for a number of years until I had accumulated enough, paid enough debt off, got out of debt, student loans, cars, everything, paid everything off, then accumulated a little bit of money. And I looked at all the different ways you could possibly build a house. And, you look at 2x4s, 2x6, SIP, even steel frame, post and beam, full masonry. And it came across insulated concrete forms. And that was like a big aha moment for me. Again, looking at kind of the physics background, looking at, how strong an ICF house is, how thermodynamically stable it is, and all the thermodynamic principles that you can get out of a full concrete wall encapsulated. The physics behind that, not just the structural, the thermodynamics is pretty special. So immediately I saw, this is what I want, and looked around and I was in Virginia, and no one really knew much about it. No one really knew, it was very, very little information at that time. So I've always been kind of a can-do attitude guy. Bootstraps, I'll figure it out myself. I designed it. In Virginia, we were talking earlier, I had to get a Class A license because I had a number of years of experience of buying houses, fixing them up, selling them. I met some experiential requirements for the Class A, took the test, passed the test, got my license. Now I'm qualified to actually build my own house with getting a loan. And so, again, I was a quintessential DIY person 23 years ago, starting, just with some ideas, drawings, built it. At that point, I'm like, wow, it performed and did everything that we wanted it to do, which was very exciting. And I looked and I said, there may be other people who want to do this. Now that I'm fully licensed, I cut my teeth on the first one. I had plenty of project management experience, but just was the first time dealing with the ICF walls. And so let's see if we can make a run of this. And so over a few years of really working as an engineer and getting the custom home building going, it grew and grew until I finally could step away from that full-time self-employed or that full-time job and jump right into the whole self-employment world, 100% commission. And so that's always, if everyone doesn't really think about this, when you're a business owner, you really are 100% commission. That's just the reality of the world.
Yeah. You eat what you kill. Yeah.
You eat what you kill. And, when you had a family of five bodies to feed, when you make that leap from that engineering job to full commission, that was a leap of faith. But I took it, ran with it. And, here we are 22, 23 years later, building nothing but ICF homes. They're kind of a niche. We don't do wooden. We just do ICF. And again, so it's worked really well. And again, you look at my shoulder, I'm still in that same ICF house. I have no desire to live in a wooden house. It's one of the fun things, like when we talk to clients, new ones, if they are previous ICF, maybe come from another state, they live in an ICF, they do not want to go back to a wooden house. They know the benefits of it and are just so happy to find someone who, this is what we do. And to do that, with the ICF wall, because there's just not many out there that do the ICFs. And so that was kind of my background. I'm a past president of the local building association here in Fredericksburg. Just been in the building association for a long time. I'm in a Builder 20 group, which I get a lot of value out of. I know that Trevor, you and Heather are both big into the NHAB. I appreciate your service. We were talking earlier about your lobbying efforts in your state. That's so very important. And kudos to you guys for doing that. That's a volunteer job that is important for everyone. And it is a non-paying gig. Everyone out there who's listening, the work that they do is a non-paying gig, and it helps everyone in your state. So it's very, very important. But
same thing
so
with
today,
you.
again, I'm ramming.
I was going to say, yeah, same thing with you as being a past president of your local. It's a lot of work, and
It was so much work. I was like, particularly I tell people, like, if you're a small-ish builder, it sucks. I mean, if you're the president of your local chapter, I mean, it is so much time. And
yes,
and
it's taking off. It's taking off your business owner hat and what's best for your business and looking at what's best for the industry. And I don't think a lot of people really understand that really what the local HBAs do is they're fighting for the whole industry, not one business owner. And we all have a voice, and we need more voices. We need to make sure that people know we're here and protect what has paid our bills and supported our families all these years.
Yeah, it's a service. I mean, it's definitely something you are serving some time, but you're doing it for your industry. And if you look yourself in the mirror and realize that industry is provided for your family and continues to provide for your family, especially if you have generational, we've got kids in the industry now, and we're looking at what it does for them. And we get on our soapbox about this stuff, but it's literally like, spend the time, go volunteer at your local, volunteer at your state. If you can do the NHB thing and national, please, hit us up. We're happy to talk about it and stuff, but you're right. It's you'd have to take a little bit away from your business to do that for a year. And so thank you for your service doing it, because it's benefiting all the people that don't volunteer. And that's where we kind of get after people like, hey, you're benefiting from this anyways. It'd be great if you could help us out with a little bit of time. So it's a big one for us. We love it.
Yeah, and like you said, the local chapters, that's really where all the membership comes from. that supports the state and the national comes from the locals.
Yeah.
That's where the revenue to support the whole machine comes from the locals.
Yep. And we talk about codes and stuff. I mean, as far as, when people want to know how that affects them at the ICF, and, I'm in the ICF world, how does that most affect me? It really affects people in the ICF world because as we were talking before we started recording here, we're dealing with code things, I mean, we're dealing with things that actually are pushing people towards ICF. I mean, that makes ICF an even smarter choice. I mean, we can sit here all day and beat our chest about how much better it is to live in an ICF house. And I mean, everybody that lives in one pretty much would, tell you that it's the best thing they ever did. But the one thing that we, people that are still building with firewood can appreciate is the fact that we've got codes that are growing up and up and up to where they've gone from 2x4 construction to 2x6 construction. There's some states that are trying to pass 2x8 construction, to where they have to get more insulation in the wall, continuous, CI, continuous insulation on the outside. Those are the things we're lobbying for. And when you join your local, HBA and your which, by the way, once you join your local, you're automatically a member of your state HBA and you're automatically a member of NHP. So it's not 3 memberships, it's 1 membership for 3. And so if you do that, then that's where we're going on the advocacy part, trying to get people to understand, like, we have reason to we don't want to push the codes ridiculously, but we do want some control in that. And for all of us in the ICF world, we are light years ahead of those codes. If you're already switched to ICF, which most of our listeners are already in that same frame of mind, but tell people about it and get the word out there. But that's good stuff. We'll get to we could have a whole episode just on HBA stuff because I'll get going on that stuff. But what I wanted to talk to you about is, I think there's a few of you guys out there that I just respect the information you're putting out. Like, what you guys do for our industry is, there's certain guys that don't just focus on ICF, right? Like, you're not putting out videos of you just putting mud in a wall. Like, you're Instagram and YouTube, any of the social medias that you do, these reels you're putting out are, one, very high quality, great job, and good sound, good video, and it's easy to watch, and you're getting into other subs and stuff. So like you're which is kind of what we want to do with this podcast, is like, that's why we want to talk to people of all different areas of the build. You have some great videos out there with your electrician, with your, HVAC guy, with everybody. You go into all these different things that are not just the ICF, but you're talking about how it plays with ICF and stuff. So, how'd this social media thing take off? Like, the videos and stuff, like, how'd that go from like being a builder, talk about another free job?
For a long time, we were just static growth. Everything came through Google searches, and that was running about 1 to 2 homes a year, which kept me fed, but it didn't really, I wasn't, goal is I want to scale the business, and 1 to 2, you can't scale. So how do I grow that? Because if anyone wanted an ICF home in Virginia, if you could type ICF HOME on Google, we were the number 1 search.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very, very easy. But how would we get someone who wanted a custom home, wanted a well-built home, but wasn't aware of it? And still to this day, there's so many general population. So, we wanted to try to grow that. So the only way I was going to do that was to kind of educate content and talk about things outside of pouring the concrete into the walls. Today, we build on average 4 to 6 homes a year. And again, this can kind of vary, but right now we just had a spell of some larger homes, but the average house right now is $2 million. And so that's a different buyer, different market in that price point. And we were starting to get more clients who were coming through that had $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. And I hated turning that away because I love it. They watched all my YouTube channels. They'd watched all the videos. They were all in on ICF. And so we started offering what we call our River Series, which are homes that are pre-designed, 100% ready to go, kind of like your classic production builder model. We've got 6 that are ready to go. So that whole content was about generating interest from people who had no idea what ICF stood for. And you, Trevor and Heather, you've done this. You've met someone who, what is ICF? And the moment you describe what it is, they're like, oh, wow. How come more people don't do this?
Right.
Yeah, why doesn't everybody do that?
I'm sure you guys have heard that.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Actually heard that so many times. Like, well, that sounds brilliant. Why don't more people do this? I'm like, there you go. But, it was so funny, like, and so it's all about, for me, it's about educating content, content, content. We have to, one of the biggest things is talk about a concrete house. And sometimes there's a perception that it's a warehouse, a cinder block concrete warehouse. It is ugly, it's cold, and it's damp. And you and I both know that's as far from the truth as it possibly can be. But so much of the market just interprets that it's a concrete house, it's ugly, it's cold and damp. So we've got to talk about what makes it different. I say that, it's just the outside walls that are different. I mean, as far as trying to bring it down, we are using the same heat pumps, the same everything else. They may be smaller, but the same technology. We're using the same 1412 wires in the houses, same CPVC or PEX. Everything else is the same. It's just those exterior perimeter walls. And, you've got these really cool thick walls, great windowsills. It's, if you can talk about the beauty of the ICF, it opens up the idea that it's not ugly. And so that's where it got me to think excuse me, talking about more about the finished houses. And then, it's not that much harder. It's definitely not different. A couple of trades are a little bit different, but, they are different. They perform differently, but they don't build that much different.
Right.
And so to get this stigma that this is some kind of exotic build that no one can do, it's not the case. And so that had to do with content, but to show different facets of it. So we're just not, like you said, we're just not pouring mud into the walls. Honestly, that's a very small portion of the market that actually even wants to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can look at your own analytics. We track our analytics very, very closely. The male female viewership, if you look at it, if it's just pouring concrete walls, it's 99% male watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
If we're showing a beautiful finished, beautiful kitchen, now we're hitting 50-50 male female watch viewership.
Yeah.
And so that's feedback for me because, like you said, content marketing, I really, really push on marketing and content. I'm looking at the analytics of what we're doing and to make sure, because at the end of the day, I want to, I think you'll hear me say this. I think every house should be ICF. I don't think we should be building wooden houses anymore for so many, many reasons. But the market just doesn't understand the difference of what it is. And it's just, again, we still have a little bit of a labor shortage just trying to get enough installers that can actually install the walls. We ran into that when COVID hit. Lumber went through the roof. That really helped us out more than anything else with our growth. Is all of a sudden we had the market looking for alternatives to wood. And we just blew up through COVID. We ran into a point where we didn't have enough bodies to stack blocks. And that backed us up for building houses. And that was really frustrating to think that, we had all this demand and we just didn't have the trained staff to do it. But anyway, everyone in this conversation is working on that. Every manufacturer is working on more training, but it definitely is a challenge to do that. So
100%.
It's all about content,
It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but yeah, it's great content.
So yeah. And it's, it's really good. This is a shout out to any builder who wants to get into ICF or just to better their own business. Is the videos are so very, very important because I have had almost every client comes to me. They're like, they feel like they know me.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've watched, I don't know how many hours of YouTube video I have out there, but they've watched it. And they've watched it and they're like, they actually feel like they know who their builder is before they even met.
Which is amazing.
Sorry?
I was like, that's amazing because then they come to you with I think more educated questions about what their build is going to look like and how about this and how about that. Their mind is open now because they kind of understand, a little bit more about the process and what it's going to take. And so I love that because that just gives you, they're a better client.
Better clients. Clients are coming completely informed. And so, they'll say, well, on your video, when you were talking about foundation waterproofing, why did you blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, I love this. I'm like, this is a client who is engaged. They understand, they have a genuine intrigue, curiosity question. Why do I do it this way? What do we do it this way? And they'll say, well, why do I do it this way? And I say, and I'll give an explanation of, we do it this way or we can do it that way. It's just wonderful to have those conversations. We'll talk HVAC systems. I mean, we'll talk, and again, you've said the videos with the HVAC. I mean, that is the most critical of your trades is your HVAC system. particularly in any high performance home. I don't care if it's an ICF, SIP, whatever it's made out of. That HVAC system is so critically important in any high performance home. And if you get it wrong, you can cause some problems.
Well, and I've always said like that's one of the, when we're looking at budgetary things, trying to get an ICF home closer to the price of a stick frame home. And when people, I say, no, that's not true. It's not true. The first thing I look at is when they send me their bid, I go, you have the same heating system in here that you would have in this house if it was an R15 house. You're heating an R15 house that, is 4 times that. So like we look at that standpoint and I know I don't make a lot of friends in the outside salespeople for HVAC companies department with this podcast because I kind of bang on them, but I just see it over and over and over again where your HVAC guy basically is he's a commission sales guy. He's selling you the biggest unit he can that is a way overkill of what you need. And the analogy we've used over and over is he's asking you to put 100-gallon tank in your Prius, or in your Tesla, you don't need it. You don't like you need to size it to the actual engine and what it's going to consume. You don't have to have a bigger tank. So we've tried to preach that. So it's huge. And I've got a few things that we're working on right now with some consulting companies that work kind of just nationally that will speak on behalf of us. This will be through WICFA, through the World Insulated Concrete Forum Association, wanting to work with some people to put out some kind of more blanket information for people to speak education, intelligently to their HVAC people, and you've already done that in a lot of your conversation. Like I said, if you haven't, go research all of Dave's stuff on social media because he's got some really, really good content about that. I was sitting here kind of racking my brain about it because we've had a few of our guests that have been on before that I give a shout out to because they've done a really good job is Jake at Our Value. He puts out good content, does a lot like you do. He kind of walks through the home and really discusses different aspects of the construction. If you watch Hollyhock Construction online, he does a lot of job site information. So you're actually seeing him out on the job site. And Up to Cody, he's actually coming on the podcast here pretty soon. We're talking back and forth, trying to get a date that will work for both of us on that. So he'll be on the podcast here pretty quick. And then, but like that is to me, you've nail on the head as far as a business owner. I mean, I love that content from the standpoint of the ICF industry just needs to have more like that out there. But just as a business owner, and it's funny, I was just having this conversation with my son who owns a fabrication and welding company. I said, the more you put out that people can see what you're working on a day-to-day basis, that you're a real contractor doing real work on a real job, they will have more confidence in you. It's not just a Google search, or they look at your Instagram and you haven't posted in a year, or they look at your website that hasn't been changed for 3 years, and different things like that. It makes you wonder if you're a valid contractor, right? The way you do things, not only do they know who you are, they have confidence in who you are, and that's just a huge hurdle that's hard to get past is that trust, right? And it's like you're creating trust because they're like, I just watched that video yesterday. I know it snowed there last week because on that video he was dealing with, what I mean? Like you do feel like but it also gives them that confidence as in their contractor that you're out on the job site, what you're talking about. So if you're a new contractor or even distributors, anybody that's running a business, the more content you can put out that shows people what you're doing in your day to day, the more you'll see your increase in sales and business. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be perfect. This is not Hollywood filming stuff. It's the content. It's getting out there. It's being real. If you make a mistake, you're being real. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
I will say it's important to have a good mic. I think that's important.
Please. Yes.
Because if you're in the field and you're in a job site and the guy's out there hamming and banging, that cell phone mic's picking everything up.
100%. And you, again, back to that good content, like you can see the quality in your video and sound is so good. And I'll plug it. I don't make any money off this, but any of the Rode mic, the lapel Rode mic, or the DJI mic 2, I think is what they call them or whatever, but the little button size mics that go on your lapel, and you can do those with a can't remember what they call that little fuzzy thing that goes on there, but put the little fuzzy thing on there that kills the wind. It's amazing how good a content you could have right in the middle of a windstorm and you're not picking up all that background noise.
Well, and I've done some more like, my camera person might be 50 feet away from me because we're trying to get the entire house.
Right.
And there's no way my voice would pick up on that phone.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
we're pushing the limits of how far the Bluetooth is actually going to push the signal. So, but yeah, no, it makes a huge difference. And it's $20. It's not even an invest. Yeah.
No, it's good. We just broke down and bought some new mics and new camera. That's how I know about the DJI. I just bought the DJI Mic 2 with the DJI Mini.
I don't know what it is
called, but anyways, just bought a new camera so we can start putting out some more content with what we're doing, and so that's get good equipment, put out good content. Every bit helps, but really good content is really good.
Yeah. Well, I want to go to your website a little bit. So on your website, you've got like your current or past projects. You've got how to work with us. You got all this stuff. And one of the pages you have is like your services. And you guys do everything from you're a design build firm first and foremost.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you have a DIY area on your website to help DIYers, which I think is so smart. So tell me kind of how that came about and tell me how that process works.
Sure. So, as talked about my background, I was a DIY that actually built my own house and then built a business around it. Good, bad, or indifferent, my biggest competitor has always been the homeowner wanting to stack their own block. That may always be the case. I hope not. I hope that we have far more builders out there who want to do this, but today that's still the issue. So I had to figure as a business owner, how do I capture that market that I'm missing right now? And so we started offering getting a client, what I call the heavy lifting, getting the house under roof. So that's not just the walls, that's the framing roof, get the windows in, shingles, metal roof all, get them under roof. At that point, again, jokingly call it about the heavy lifting's and done. And so I'll back up. I'm kind of rambling. 90% of what we build is full turnkey. Almost, again, 10% of what we do is reduced scope. And reduced scope realistically could be walls only to get you under roof. The next step is, and the one I like the most for the homeowner who wants to be their own GC, is let my team get you to drywall. And so we're going to take care of, I'm going to be responsible for the HVAC system. I know how to size the HVAC system. I know how to make sure we have ERVs in place, how to run them, how many ERVs we need for square footage, all those things, because so many of residential HVAC contractors barely know how to spell ERV, much less know what to do with it. And I'm not trying to be, I guess I came across kind of snarky, but we don't build a lot of high performance homes, period, no matter what it's being built out of. And so someone who actually understands the difference between HRV and ERV and where you use them and how they are used differently is big time. And so clients hire me, let me deal with that. Let me work with my electricians who's used to the ICF walls, my HVAC, my plumber. We'll get you the drywall. We'll get the outside, whatever you want to put on the outside, we'll get you going. Now, at this point, if the homeowner wants to be, manage the rest of it, I think that I feel good about letting them do that if they're not a professional project manager background. Because at this point, now they're managing the cabinets, the flooring, the painting, the trim. Those are things that they may have already done in their life when they redid their own kitchen or they redid their own bathroom, just on a bigger scale. So again, how to answer your question, again, most of what we do is full turnkey, but we do offer reduced scope. So we'll get a client to under roof, all the way up to drywall, all the way to turnkey. And so it's a good offering. Again, we were talking about this earlier. Virginia allows a homeowner to be their own builder still. And so the homeowner can actually be their own builder in Virginia. They literally can do everything themselves. And so that allows that person who either wants to put some sweat equity in the physical side of it or in the management side of it, sweat equity. But I always let people know that if you're going to take on that harder one to under roof, is that electrician is going to call you with a whole bunch of questions. Do you know how to answer them? If you're still working, are you going to be able to meet that electrician there every day or however many days when they have that question? Because if not, they're going to take off. They can't get that answer and it's going to drag on forever. So it usually works well for a client who's retired that has a lot of time to manage those things, and also it came from some form of project management skill sets. If they don't have those, we'll talk about it, but I don't know if that's the best fit. Let me get you to drywall, and then it's far easier to manage, because after that, the house is fully functioned, HVAC is running, it's buttoned up. If the homeowner,
Mhm.
if they want to take their time and they want to paint the walls themselves, okay, they can do that, right? If they want to put the tile up themselves, they can do that. Then maybe they don't want to do that, but they're not low skill things, but they're safer relatively to not messing it up terribly bad.
Well, and the house is
If they
dried
want to do
in.
it themselves.
The house is safe to sit there for as long as they need to
Yeah,
complete the interior because structurally everything is good on the outside and they're dried in.
yeah.
Well, and it's even people don't
It's a
realize like having
full
a wall.
functioning house.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're having
Right.
a wall that's out of line, or something can cause problems for months and
Mhm.
months down the road. Like, I mean, you don't even know how far down the road that issue is going to telegraph itself in the build of the house. So, getting somebody that can do it right to start with the right framework, and have the right bones is huge. And we've gone into this. I've talked in other episodes, but I get a lot of heat from people because I am a fan of the DIY guy, because I know that that's a big part of our industry. I'm not going to deny that it isn't, but I also want to be very clear that when I'm talking to you DIYers listening, we have professionals out there that can help you do that correctly. I'm not a fan of like go down to the local shop and just load your truck up with ICF blocks and then go build your own house with no supervision. I think that it comes down to, we've got, like yourself, a lot of professionals out there that you can reach out to that can help you, that we may not have time in the schedule to do a full build job because we're booked up for the year, but we may have time to help you on a consulting standpoint of or do the shell and help you get the stack done and stuff. So yeah, make sure you're reaching out, and we talk about it. It starts with picking the right block company, and then the assistance and the support you get from your manufacturer, from your distributor, from your local dealer, through your contractors, all of that. So yeah, make sure you are doing that. And just great to see that you've got that option for people, because I like I said, you couldn't deny it, right? That's a big competitor to you, and it will be. I think
There's
it'll
a big
always.
segment of the market that I had to take advantage of
Yeah, and I think
for something.
I'm with you. Like, we're creating an association that a big part of it is going to be to educate installers, because we know that as ICF professionals and manufacturers that we could sell more block if we had more installers, right? So we're going to be pushing really, really hard through WICFA to get more installers out there. But in the interim, and what even back to something you said, you started as a DIY yourself, and now here you are, right? And so like I want to see more of that happen, where I wouldn't be surprised if we get out there and people say, oh, that's the DIY guy. Well, yeah, well, guess what? That DIY guy turned into an installer now. I've got multiple people that I've consulted for that have said, hey, I'm going to help my neighbor do his now, and then I'm going to do this. Or, hey, if you ever get an install in this area now, let me know. I feel like I can do it. Like they actually turn into a contractor. And especially because like I said, it's you have to still do everything right, but it's not labor intensive in a weight standpoint or anything. You're not restricted as much as you are, I think, in some trades. Moving around EPS blocks is fairly easy, So I see a lot of people, like especially retired guys, that will do this on the side kind of thing. So it's great. But
Everyone's a YouTube expert.
oh yeah, we talked about that too. University of YouTube, yeah.
Yeah. Universal YouTube. But the other thing, talk about with the consulting advice too, is until you've GC'd a number of ICF homes, you don't know the gotchas until you get to it down the road.
Yes.
That are way down the road. You're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I did it this way. Or, oh my gosh, I didn't plan for my bathroom dryer vent. I mean, my bathroom fan
Right.
Mm-hmm.
to exit the house, right?
Yep.
Or my dryer vent. Like, because you're used to wood frame, you're just popping that right through the band board. It's wood. It's no big deal.
Right.
Now you've got 8 inches of concrete you got to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can you do it? Absolutely, you can do it. It's a painful lesson, and just all those little gotchas that when you've fully GC'd from breaking the ground to handing the client the key, you learn the gotchas, and you learn how to correct those in the field at the time you're actually assembling the house. So you don't have those big old, oops, what am I going to do now moments. And that's when I think the homeowner who looks at the YouTube video, or even brings in, again, I may take flack for this, but brings in just an install crew and they want to manage it themselves. That install crew is probably an expert at installing it, but they may not have ever taken many homes to completion. and they don't understand the gotchas about like adding the trim around the windows
Mm-hmm.
or making sure that window in the kitchen lines up perfectly at the right height. So you can take that quartz slab and go right across. And so you've got that deep window well but that threshold has to be exactly at the right height so that that countertop lines up and you take that quartz and carry it right across. Those are minor details, but until you've actually had to live through pulling that off, you don't know how critical that is.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a reason why when I know we're not recording video, so you can't see us, but there's a reason why I have a big gray beard. It's all gray. And the reason why you have no hair on your head is because we've learned through those mistakes. We've learned plenty of times we've made those mistakes. And another shout out I'll give is to Josh Miller with the ICF guys. He just, he'll put out stuff about like a wall blowing out, like like things you don't want to see on, like some of the stuff that does happen. I don't care how good you are, you can have something happen. And he put out a great video of like how it wasn't, this isn't the end of the world. Let me show you how we fix this, right? Like the first thing they did is grab a camera and started recording and like, okay, we're going to fix this. Like that could be a absolute ender for a DIY person that doesn't know, doesn't have any experience going, okay, I got mud just flowing out of a wall. What do I do? Freaking out. Like, okay, here's how we fix it. This is what happens. So it happens to the best of us. Things happen. That block got dropped out of the truck or somebody threw it off the scaffold and it got cracked and we didn't see it. It was a hairline fracture. Somebody forgot to, we've recently made mistakes where we cut webs trying to make something for a real specific corner and then forgot that we cut that web and didn't put enough bracing on it and it popped on us, So like, there's just certain things where you just don't know what you don't know. And like I said, there's some of that good knowledge that comes with gray hair and losing our hair is we do know that stuff. So hire a gray haired or bald guy and to help you with your,
or I guess in my case, I'm blonde, so you can't tell my white hairs.
No, but reality is, I think you have to make mistakes.
Yes.
To gain experience.
Yes. It's the best teaching experience ever.
Mistakes.
Yeah. You will learn more from that mistake. I laugh all the time. I had a daughter and a son, and my daughter, I figured out real quickly once I had my son, how smart girls are and how dumb boys are. Cause I watched my daughter do something one time and never do it again. She'd jump her bike over something, crash, and then she'd never jump her bike again. I'd watch my son jump his bike and crash it 6 times in a row and still just keep trying to go back and do it again. So there's some people learn faster than others, but that's pretty good. So I did one of the things that I think is fascinating. I think people will see if they jump on your social media. I wanted you to talk about a little bit is the Castle House. Like that is such a cool how did you design that? I didn't get way back into the weeds on the videos on that particular house, but like, tell me a little bit about that house.
Yeah, cool. Very, very cool client. It's 2 houses. We built the guest house, which is it's relative. I guess everything's relative. It's a 5,000 square foot guest house.
Oh, yeah.
We built it first. They wanted to be on the property. We got them in about 7.5 months. We got them in.
Wow.
And then as we were getting them in, we started the Castle House, and that's a 15,500 square foot house. And so we designed that all in house, engineering, everything. This is kind of what we do. So that's that particular project. When I talked about our average, that thing skewed our average.
Yeah, I think.
But that's an example, right? So perfect example. We turnkeyed the guest house. The Castle House is to drywall. The homeowner is retired, and we're done. Our phase is basically done with that project. He hired his own painter. He is literally, because he's a very handy guy, he is putting the trim in the house right now as we speak. And so that's a perfect example of some of our phase construction where the owners wanted to get in as fast as possible. So they'll let the professionals do it. We got them in fast. And then we built the other one all the way up. Exterior is finished, roofs are everything, windows are in, everything's finished on the outside, drywall's in, full functioning HVAC system, and that ended our contract, our phase.
So will you be?
And you talk about that. We'd never done crenellations before, and the crenellations on those walls. I don't know if you've seen those with the castle look.
Yeah.
We never. That house was not designed with those when we designed it. During the build, the owner was like, "Hey, we're kind of making this thing a castle. Can you do crenellations on all these walls?" So I'm like, well, I think I can. And at first thought, I was like, well, let's just keep it easy. We'll just cap the wall and then we'll make some kind of masonry block and then wrap it in foam and we'll EFIS it. And then more I thought about it, and I talked with my lead installer, Adam, and I'm like, I think we can make these things out of block. I think we can just cut them, and we've literally made all those. I need to. I'll sometimes I create like what I call like a birth certificate for our houses. So we talked about how many pounds of concrete are in it, how many miles of rebar are in it, and that thing we broke 3 million pounds of concrete on the big house.
Wow.
And I think we were probably pushing 15 miles of rebar in it. So, it's those kind of like, again, those are the kind of cool geek numbers that I like when I look at these houses. But that thing was really cool. The crenellations, we'd never done that before. We figured it out on the fly. We built all the crenellations in there. It was a little bit slow filling because you couldn't we didn't have a complete open top to it. We had sections.
Right.
And so what we end up doing, so it was really fun, cool project. We'll do more on that. We've got some drone video coming out and we'll do some more drone videos through it. I do want to get back to see it finished because the owner's doing some really, really nice high-end finishes inside the house. It's going to be really cool, but just a wonderful client, a real big collaboration. But, it was a labor of love. That was, I think if you include our first meeting to today, we're 4 years into that project as
Wow.
far as concept to design through the 2 houses we designed. So literally we did 20,000 square feet of ICF houses between the 2 jobs.
But highly custom,
Highly custom.
Yeah.
We've got, and it's tall. That main house is super tall. It's got the basement's 10 foot. We got a 24-inch floor joist, 12-foot first floor, another 24-inch floor joist, and another 10-foot floor system above that. And then the attic, and then they hit me again. They wanted to make a rooftop deck on top of the house. And so there are crenellations on top of the house, but those are not ICF because it's inside the truss footprint. So the weight's just too much. So we made those out of wood. But we have a literal entire rooftop deck on top of that house, and you're about 50 feet in the air on top of the house. It's cool.
Yeah, well, you're even saying how you even put like some of the ERVs and stuff into those, right? Like
because
that's kind of cool.
That was another change. I had designed all the ERBs to be all the HVAC systems. The house is so tall and big, and kind of geek out a little bit physics. We have a fair number of basements in Virginia. And so I like to take that steady air temperature basement, whether it's ICF or whatever, that basement air temperature is going to stay plus or minus 60 degrees year round.
Yeah.
And I want to take that energy that's in the basement and I want to mix that throughout the house because that's free energy. That's passive free energy. It didn't cost us anything to get that air. So when it's 10 degrees outside, that 60 degree air is quite warm. When it's 100 degrees outside, that 60 degree air is quite cool, feels good. So let's take that air and move it all the way up to the 3rd level of the house. So I designed the whole system to have 2 stacks that would actually circulate the air up and down the 3 levels of the house. During the build, the owner decided that he wanted to be cool bias. So when I say cool bias, that means your vents have to come out of the ceiling so that it drops cold air down versus warm bias, the vents come out of the floor. So typically we'll design warm bias houses. He wanted to flip the whole thing around to cold bias so everything was coming out of the ceiling. So we'd already started to design. We were in build phase when he asked me about changing this around. So it was a huge, I'm like, oh crap. I'm like, we're talking about pre-planning ERBs. I had all the ERBs planned out for the 2 wings in the basement. So we had our vertical elevator stacks. All the ERVs were laid out. Now we're moving units up into the attic because everything was top bias. So we had hip roofs, and so where do you put your ERVs out when you have a full 360 hip roof? And so we had the crenellations. And I'm like, oh, we're going to go up in the crenellation. And we'll pop out through the crenellation.
It's super cool.
That was being creative on the fly in the field. That was a pivot for us because again, I want to make sure, and I'll get on a soapbox a little bit more about the pros of ICFs. Is I firmly believe these things are passive geothermal houses. They passively heat and cool themselves. So we can talk about the R value of the walls all day long. Yes, we can talk about how airtight they are. But we'll actually, if you think about it, your footers, they're staying 55 to 60 degrees year round. I don't care what the air temperature is doing. So that footer is now a massive heat sink that you have the concrete sitting right on top of that footer. And there's a good thermal conductivity. Concrete's a good thermal conductor. You just want to control how it conducts. And so you want that radiant energy going from the footer all the way up the wall, 3 stories up. It's going to keep tracking up there because air is a very low density to the earth is a high density. So the amount of energy that you can squeeze into the wall from the air versus the footer is really not negotiable. It's all driven by the ground temperature. So you are passively, again, I'm talking by hands as if everyone can see me, but the whole perimeter of the house is like this force field of energy that's radiating from the ground. So your walls are going to follow ground temperature, not air temperature,
Right.
which is a big deal when you talk about heating and cooling house. And, my family was going to kill me if I ever turned the power off in the middle of winter to test a theory. So, they really didn't like Dad's physics. He wasn't physics funny.
We're doing it for the team.
And so, but about 5 winters ago, we had this freak winter storm. It was a very wet, heavy snow, and it just took trees out everywhere. And we lost electricity for 5 days. And I'm an all-electric ICF. I went from 70 to 60 in 24 hours, which, if anyone's ever lost power in a wooden house, that's a very slow drop, 10 degrees in a day. And then we literally plateaued at 60. And the house just stayed at 60. And it never got above freezing. And we were and again, it's Virginia cold. So we were in the single digits at night, mid 20s during the day, but we hung out at 60 for 5 days.
Yeah.
No heat.
Yeah.
And that to me kind of confirmed at that point, the earth was heating my house.
100%.
And you can't, when you do your energy audits of a house, right? They never incorporate the concrete performance when they do their energy audits. And that's why the R has to be R22, R23, because they can't put the concrete in the wall and still do the R test. If they did, when we hit the mid 40s.
Right.
But because the energy audits, the energy modeling, and they look at the energy efficiency of an ICF, that modeling is done without the concrete. They can't do the modeling with the concrete in the walls.
Right.
And so you don't get that passive energy. So the calculated energy savings of ICFs are missing the value that the thermal mass provides.
So,
and you can't really replicate the passive side of the footers actually now heating and cooling the house.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to pre-book you right now for the next episode that you're going to do with me, which we will just dive completely into that. I want to give you time to prepare for that conversation, but I'm going to task you in doing a follow-up episode with me that we can talk about that because, I have got some heat on social media before. I've been in this business long enough that literally we had coffee cups and T-shirts that said R50 walls. We were able to do that, right? That's how you promoted ICF when I got trained in the business. And so, being old, I still slip up and say that, and people get all up in me about that, where they're just like, "You can't say that.
About that.
You can't say that. You just look like an idiot." And I've had some people just say, that's just bad for you to promote that way. And I'm just like, okay. And unfortunately, I went to school to be an elementary school teacher, not a physics professor. So I will say that I need to talk to smarter people like you to explain it down to people. But I think we need to do an episode on just explaining how the performance is and how it works. I mean, I'm not going to, I'll back off saying, okay, I'm not going to say R50 walls, R52. I will tell you that we have testing that on our,
it performs as if it were an
HERS
R52.
testing and blower door testing that will show you that
it performs as if it was a 50.
Right. There's an equivalency on there, right? And you can show the tests on a HERS test or a blower door test that we have that shows that. But I get the R value thing. Anyway, we'll get sidetracked on that. But that's something that I think we do need to have a discussion about because there's a couple of videos that you show where you actually kind of break it down for people, and it's very visual and able to understand for the person saying, well, is it really? And you do a good job of that. So I'll just leave it at that and then tell people to go watch your videos and stuff to do that.
Okay. So we want to make sure that we are being mindful of your time today as well. So we have 3 questions that we ask every one of our guests. So we'll start off the first one.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I've just remembered what I was going to say. I started to, and then I forgot because I'm, again, old. On that, back on the Castle House before we jump off it, I hope, is there any chance that you guys are going to keep making some content on that so we can kind of see it through the finish of that?
Yeah, we will come back. I've got, guys, I tell you what, this, you got a minute. It was like, sometimes, when you do a video, it's good. And sometimes, you're like, well, it wasn't my A day, but I got the content out.
Yeah.
I had an A day. For whatever reason, the Bluetooth wasn't working. And my videographer didn't know. And we got what I felt like 4, I was high-fiving myself. I'm like, those are good.
God, you're so good.
My coffee was kicking in. I was good that day. And she gets back to me a week later. Hey, Dave, I hate to say this. The mic didn't work. I didn't hear anything you said. I'm like, no. So I do have to go back out there. We did some fun ones. And again, it was another day where I was talking about the passive, the heating and cooling system wasn't on. And I think it was like in the 20s that day. And we were hitting 60. We were just holding out 60 degrees inside that house.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking all about that. I had my whole physics going.
Oh, we've all been there.
No, you're going to still have to post that one and just do some voiceover stuff.
This
and
is
say,
what I was saying.
Here, this is what I was meaning to say, and just kind of make some fun of it.
It'll almost be like a foreign film where they dub in the English or something. Well, just your mouth won't be matching the words.
There's no way I'm going to be able to match up. And I'm like, I don't even remember what I said. I know it's good.
I feel like an old 70s kung fu or 80s kung fu movie where like the mouth doesn't match the words. That'll be pretty funny. But yeah, that
house. I mean, we've got curved ICF walls with arches that are supporting a concrete deck. We've got Juliet cantilever balconies right out of the ICF walls. We've got a 2nd-story concrete deck out of the upper suite. I mean, it's a cool house.
is that something? Is this one? Go ahead.
Terraced ICF walls. Everything. Every landscaping wall is ICF out there.
Oh wow!
Every wall.
Every
single wall we've got.
Is this going to be something that might make it onto the ICF Builder Awards or something? Would that be something you guys would put up for it?
I'm going to submit it because it would fall in at the unlimited category. And I think because there's 2 houses being, both of them are ICF, both same ownership, both same builder, both, my team did all of it. I am going to make a run with this. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That would be
I did win. I did win. I didn't talk about this. I didn't talk about my company too much, but we did win in 2020. The ICF Builder Magazine large home. We won that in 2020. That was a design that my team, my build.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love when people have their pride in that. Heather has had a first place win in small residential. She won in 2018 for small residential. I had 2020. I had a runner up for a commercial that we did, a gun range that we did up in Montana that won a runner up for that one. And it's funny. It is a big deal in our industry. Like I'm sitting here staring across my office at my plaques that are sitting on my bookshelf, right? We're pretty proud of those things. So it is good. I'm glad to hear you brag about that because in our industry, man, it's the top of the top. That's the cream of the crop right there. I mean, there's so many great projects out there. When you take home a win and get on that podium and get to get your award, it's just a rush because it's, we do all this stuff and we fight, we kind of fight our way through this industry because it's such a small, little niche industry. It's really cool to be recognized. So congratulations. And I'm going to just venture a guess and maybe put my money on the fact that the Castle House will also get you on that podium if you can put that in there, because that is just a super awesome house. But anyway.
Super cool.
I mean, I'll do a more detailed walkthrough, but sometimes I could talk about the curve. I mean, we've got multiple curved walls. We've got radius arches. If you don't know how hard that is to build, you don't appreciate what it is.
100%.
So I remember talking about it, and I'm just going off on my guys that pulled this off. And I'm thinking to myself, but if you don't really know how hard that is to do, you're I have friends who are like, why was that so special? I'm like, what do you mean? Why was that
right?
so special?
I saw the arched windows and stuff in it, and I'm like, wow, look how clean those arches are. And just as I was nerding out, you look at we understand how hard it is to get a good straight header between, when you're talking about a 12-inch header between windows and arches and square. I'm looking through that nerding out as an installer going, ooh, man, that looks clean. Oh my God, look how nice he did that. Yeah, it is funny. You don't know unless you've had to do that kind of stuff.
100%.
Yeah, you don't know.
All right. So now we will get into the 3 questions. And
okay.
Maybe you answered this, I'm not sure. But the first one that we always like to ask is, what is one of your most memorable experiences? You said you've been in building for 22 years now. What's your most memorable experience during that time?
I'm not trying to make light of this answer, but every single time I hand a house over to a client, it's a memorable experience for us. Because like you guys do, we design build. So our tagline is concept to keep. So when you can go from an idea on a literally back of a napkin and 24 months later, you hand a client their dream home, that's a memorable experience.
Yes, it is.
That to me is why I do what I do.
Yeah.
I've got other little oddity stories, but realistically, to take that vision, someone's vision, and you help them along that journey, and you built them that peace, that peace of mind house that they know it'll withstand most anything nature can throw at it, that it's never going to rot, it's never going to blow over. 5 generations later, it's still in the family. That's a big deal.
It is. That's huge.
It's awesome. Great answer.
Yeah. All right. Next one. What is something that you are looking forward to in the ICF industry?
Like future, is there anything
Future.
like products? Is there anything like what do you see
Yeah.
coming down the pipe that you're excited about?
I'm excited about the low carbon concrete. I think we do use a lot of carbon in producing the concrete mix powder. I do know that there are some very good additives and other polymer-based chemicals that are going to be coming out. I am excited about that to see what kind of technology we're going to get with some alternative materials that can still get us the same performance that we get, but a little more green footprint, carbon footprint friendly materials.
That's cool. Yeah, and I think there is a lot of stuff coming down the line that we're seeing. We've been involved with, like I said, Helix has been on the podcast. We've talked with them, MST rebar, fiberglass rebar, structural fiberglass rebar, all these different things that we're seeing, just these new innovations, and it's fun to watch. These things are coming out for other industries, not specific to ICF, but it sure fits ours really well. And so it's kind of fun for us to get stuff that we're taking that's doing things a little, we all say that doing it with ICF is obviously doing it better. And now what we're seeing is some of these products that are even making even the better ICF better, so we're taking that to another level. So that's great. I'm excited about that stuff too. So here's where you didn't get to talk about your company much. So here's where you get to drop the elevator pitch on everything and say, when we talk about ICF Homes of Virginia, that's the question 3 that we always throw out. So why should somebody come to you and use your services?
Great question. So we really pride ourselves on helping our clients take their vision, their idea, their concept, and building them a one-of-a-kind house. In the 22 years we've been building, we've never built the same house twice.
Wow.
Everything's been a prototype home. And so we are specialists at building one-of-a-kind homes for our clients. Particularly, we live and die in the ICF world. For me, this company's grown over the 22 years that now I'm a very proud dad that 2 of my kids work for me. My daughter and son both work for me now. So it's really becoming a lot of fun for me and to grow this business and to continue to grow, that we're at a point where my second generation is in. They're all in. They're excited. They're helping me push the marketing ideas, growing the business, where we can do things better. My son is more in the field, and he's just, he grew up watching us build these things, and now he's coming up with his own unique ideas, looking at it differently than I would have not looked at it, which I'm just tickled to death with. And my daughter, she, you talked about our website. She built the website. That's her website.
Wow.
And so to have someone on my team internally that has that skill set, I'm super proud. And so that's, so to come to us, we have the ability to walk you through our process where we will take you with, your ideas, whether it's a 2,000 square foot house or a 20,000 square foot house. We can walk you through that entire process all the way through to completion and hand you a key that now you have a house that you will live in. It'll be around longer than our clients will be around, and they'll have a very safe, beautiful home to live in. The other thing that's unique with what we do, and I'm really proud about this, is for every custom home we build, we sponsor a concrete home in a third world country. So we will build a home. It's called the 1-for-1 project. I'll give a little shout out to it. 1 for one. It's particularly for custom home builders that you can sponsor a home in Guatemala, and it is a masonry home, and you're taking families who are literally living on dirt and cardboard, and we're building them a concrete house with a concrete floor that, it completely, you're talking about life-changing event. This is a different level of poor that is not even in existence here. And this is something I feel very, very proud about, is that we are actually building concrete houses in a third world country for every concrete home we build. And I'm proud of that.
That is awesome. And I'm asking you, please send me the link to that, and I will put that link in the show notes so that more people, if there's other builders that want to jump on board with that, we can get behind that, and something that we definitely want to promote. That's a really, really cool thing. So I'll have you send me that link, and we'll post that in the show notes.
Website. It's on our website,
Okay.
and called our Y, WHY, our Y.
Mhm.
I'm going to move that to the homepage because I didn't know if I should have put it on the homepage or just kind of put it in there a little deeper. But it's come back to us and recommended that we actually do make that front and center what we sponsor with each of our houses.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. Yeah, we'll put that on the in the show notes, so any listeners that want to check it out and get behind that, they can definitely do that. So that's cool. Anything else you want to chat about here before we wrap this up?
Yep. I mentioned this earlier, and again, I know you guys are probably looking at the clock, but we do offer our River Series. And so we have a $400,000 full ICF house all the way up to $1 million house.
Mhm.
So we really are trying to, again, I mentioned earlier, we build some really high end, very, very houses that I'll never even have the ability to build or live in. And that we do offer affordable, realistically, homes that I call very high performance homes that are at a reasonable price point. It's not just all multi-million dollar homes.
That's awesome. And I think that that's something that I try to promote a lot. And I'm hoping that in years to come, I'll be able to promote this a lot more is I believe 100% that there is we use the buzzword affordable housing a lot, especially as being involved with the NHB. We talk about it. And I don't think people put enough emphasis on the operational costs of that home after people get into it. And to be able to produce a home that is an affordable home out of a product that is going to keep their long-term bills down is way more important than people can appreciate. And so when you can build them a home and instead of them paying, $500 a month in utilities, they can pay $100. That's $400 a month they have for groceries to put into savings, to put towards their kids or retirement or whatever you're doing. Imagine taking every month, 3/4 of what you pay in utilities and putting that into something else that's more important to you. And so I think it's important that we do find a way to get that word out to people. So I very much appreciate you promoting that side of it too, because we do get a lot of people, and it's cool to come on here and just ball out and talk about the 15,000 square foot house that we did, or the big houses and stuff and the custom homes. But there really is a need for that smaller home. And I'm like I said, I've got lucky. I was at Key Largo here a few weeks ago, and I got to talk to a guy he's really promoting this and even getting some government funding behind it to where we can build some, inner city infill lot type stuff where they're tearing down old abandoned buildings and putting in some smaller homes for people. And his whole thing is, the utility cost, these people don't have a lot of monthly income coming in to cover their utility costs. So yeah, you give them a new home, but then they lose it or they can't keep up with it because they don't have the money to even to manage it. So I think that's really important.
I say that it costs the same to live in an ICF as it does a wooden house. If you use a 5 to 10% threshold as a cost difference, your mortgage is 5 to 10% difference. If you take 10% of your 5% of your mortgage, and you take what your utility bill difference is versus the wooden versus the concrete, I call it the operational cost of the house. So your mortgage plus your utility bill. Your operational cost of an ICF should be very close, if not similar, to the wooden house. Numbers come from different points, but the totality of the two are the same. So for me, your ROI is the day you move into the ICF because it's cost the same to live in it, but now you have all the other benefits the wooden house will never have.
Agreed. Yeah, that's awesome. All right. So I guess
cool.
we'll wrap it up. I told you, we don't have any limitations. We control the record button, so I can record as long as I want. No one can tell me not to. So, but we did.
I don't know. Heather's getting a little fidgety over there.
She's the boss, so she's got control. She can't touch the record button from where she's at, but she can touch me. So she'll punch me until I hit the button and stop. But no, I'm excited. I've got so many other things to chat with you about. I think we've got multiple episodes that we could probably do. I definitely will set a precursor here for a little preview that the fact that we are going to do one on regarding the R value argument debate that we want to go into. And then two, just talking about some of your other, I'd love to talk about your involvement with the NHB as well, because I do know you've done some panels with them at IBS and stuff and spoken for our industry. And it's funny because me being involved in the NAHB and the ICF industry, and not knowing even that on some of those cases that you were even speaking on some of these panels, because I wasn't there, didn't know. I think we have to do a better job of promoting our industry within the NAHB, which is again why we're going to do that through the World Insulated Concrete Forum Association. So
yeah, which kind of leads into a word from our sponsor, since we actually do have a sponsor for the podcast now, and we did not do it at the beginning of the
No,
episode.
we rear loaded our sponsorship this time. So we do have our sponsor that we want to talk about, and it's kind of exciting because we're just coming off. We just did an episode where we recorded to kind of the follow-up questions to our original
Q&A.
episode 63 was about WICFA, and episode 66 is about the kind of some of the follow-up questions we have. But anyways, the ICF industry finally has a unified voice. The World Insulated Concrete Forum Association, WICFA, is launching now to support advocacy, education, and industry growth. Be a part of it from day one. If you're a builder, manufacturer, engineer, distributor, or industry professional who believes in building stronger, more resilient structures, this is for you. Come and visit WICFA, that's WICFA.org, and join the wait list. We have just been hammered. It's so awesome to see all the people jumping on the wait list. It's just cool, and everybody that is getting on there and hitting it up every time we have an episode, we get a big bump in this. So jump on the wait list, just like we saw it said in the previous episode. This is a wait list for when we get live, but we do want everybody on there. You will be notified when we go live with this, which is we are shooting for April 6th is the
Easter Monday.
Easter Monday is when we're hoping to be live on this. It is going to be dictated by our software company, and
we're working on it. So we're just going to
software
stay
engineers.
It's going to be Easter Monday.
So anyways, super cool. So Dave, thank you so much. Again, this is just the first of a series of episodes that we'll be doing with you, but thank you so much for what you're doing in the industry. You really are doing really good work to promote this, and get it out there to people in the visual and audio, you name it. You're showing them how to do it. And I can't tell people enough to go follow you on social medias, whatever your preference is, go follow him. He's out there and he's got some really, really good stuff. So,
and we will include that in the show notes.
Everything will be linked.
Yeah.
I'll put links to all those in the show notes so everybody can just click on there and get right to him. So anyways, thank you so much, Dave. Appreciate it. We'll wrap this thing up and start getting prepared for the next episode with you. So thanks so much, Dave. Appreciate it. And everybody else, keep hitting us up on socials.
At Build with ICF on all the socials, info@buildwithicf.com for our email address.
I'm going to keep plugging to people your best to hit us up with an email if you really want an answer back fast, because I don't see all of our socials as much, and I definitely don't see all the podcast platforms as much. So appreciate everybody listening on podcast platforms, but if you're putting a question in there, sometimes I miss those because it's hard for me to go to
every
37 different places to try to find questions. So if you do have a question, you're listening here and you really want to get to me directly, info@buildwithicf.com. I see that right on my phone every time, so I can get back to you quicker. But yeah, keep sending in these suggestions. You got a guy like Dave out there that you want to hear us talk about in an interview, please hit us up with that. We're happy to do that. And we got a whole bunch of fun ones lined up coming down the pipe here. So keep listening, people, and keep forward this on to everybody, please, too. We always forget to tell people to share the podcast. If you are as big a fan as we are and as Dave is of the ICF industry, help us get the word out, share the podcast, and let's let people learn more about our industry. So
absolutely.
Okay, until the next time, guys, appreciate you, and we will talk to you next time.